Hello! So, first thing I wanted to show you guys was one of my favorite toys that I have very little of. If I had to do this all over again, if I got to be a kid again, I would have wanted a lot more of these. And that is Kenner Megaforce. Now, I had a little bit more than this as a kid. I had another big thing that had a helicopter in it. But these were just awesome toys that I really wish I had gotten more of. For those of you who don't know, Kenner made a line of toys called Megaforce. They were army toys. It was two different factions fighting each other. I don't know if there was lore or not around them, but for the toys, their size and stuff, they had a lot of detail and quite a few play features that they put into very small toys, actually. So let's go ahead and look at this one. This one was probably my favorite. It's this shuttle launch battle platform thing. I'm sure it has a name, but I don't remember it. Basically, it has a space shuttle and booster on it, some treads, command center up front with some pretty wicked looking guns down here, some kind of antennas, which I'm sure as a kid, guns, these little turrets up here that turn, some detailing there, these big old treads, and the neck would lift up so you could lift the shuttle into launch position, and the head articulated up and down so it could shoot up, it could shoot down at the ground, it could shoot straight ahead. And there was a little rail here, and the shuttle would launch off the rail. Then you just had this kind of cool neck-looking tank vehicle. You could put it in all kinds of different positions. It had a lot of range of movement on its neck. And it was just a cool toy in and of itself. And the shuttle, as you can see here, came as two parts. It has its little boosters here, and then the shuttle itself. It was covered in these little turrets down here and some here. And this thing was cool because it had a play feature here. It had a spring-loaded booster here, and you could point it, and this little handle here would spring it off. Now its spring is 40 years old or something at this point, so it's not quite as strong as it used to be, but it still works pretty good here. You can fire, and as you can see on the shuttle, the wings pop out. Boom. So, swept wing design. This thing was cool. You can see that it's got a lot of detail on the bottom of it here. And have this thing flying around was just awesome. And then the booster itself has a little cockpit of its own, and it's its own little spaceship with its own turrets on it. Big old engines here. So you kind of got three toys in one. You got a little space fighter, a space shuttle, command vehicle tank thing, a lot of play features and toy packed into a very small package. And that was one of the reasons I liked Megaforce so much. They packed a lot into the little toys that they had. Now this had two accessories. There were little tanks that you could peg on here, and I don't know if they're in this bag. Yep, I see them in there. So let's take a look. These were the normal toys. These were kind of the deluxe toys. There were a bunch of these and 2 or 3 giant play sets that you could get. That was another thing about Megaforce, Kenner Megaforce, that I really liked. You could get little sets that were just some vehicles that were fairly cheap. They had some mid-range toys like these that were, you know, bigger, that came with maybe 1 or 2 of the smaller toys, and then they had giant play sets that came with a bunch of stuff. Obviously, I never had any of those. But let's take a look here. If the bag will cooperate with me. Of course, it's not gonna. Alright, there we go. So these might be other tanks, come to think of it. No, I think these were the tanks that came with it. I don't remember. Yeah, maybe the pegs broke off at some point or something, but I swear there used to be little tanks that went on this thing. Yeah, there you go, it's holding it. So, I don't know why a space shuttle would be carrying tanks into orbit, but whatever. You got to put on little tanks on your space shuttle, carry it around. And as you can see, these are pretty detailed for their size. Their bodies are die-cast metal, and their tops are this soft, rubbery plastic. It doesn't have a whole lot of give, but it has some, which helps keep it intact. Turrets turn, real basic. Now, there were two factions in Kenner Megaforce. You got these guys, which are the triangle with the kind of Y on it, and then the other side, which was just a star. And you were really supposed to use these to fight against each other. I really didn't have that many, so there wasn't a whole lot of fighting going on. And we'll get to another reason why I like these so much a little later. You could get the smaller sets, which usually came with 3 vehicles and some kind of an accessory of some kind. I'm apparently missing, I remember there were 3 of these missile launchers, and usually there were 2 that were normal and 1 that was a leader that had a little bit more, another feature to it. With these missile launchers, you can see you got a die-cast metal one here with a plastic missile that would just peg on here. And then here is the leader version that has another paint application on the window there. The windscreen is blue. It's got a little teeny bit more coloring on it, and its big thing is its missile is quite a bit larger than the other missile. With some more paint or decal or whatever on it to tell you this is the leader of their little missile launchers. There was another one originally exactly like that one. And then normally the little cheap play sets would come with a little plastic toy to kind of give you some extra features with it. These missile launchers came with this little bridge bunker thing that had a gun on each side. And you could kind of put that over some Legos or over some wooden play blocks and, you know, drive your vehicles over the bridge. You know, it's hard plastic, but it's light, and you can, you know, blow it up and stuff like that. A lot of play features, even on just a simple bridge like this. Let your imagination go. Attacking it, defending it, driving across it. It's really awesome. Now the planes, originally, again, there were 3 of these planes. Maybe it was the planes that went on these. I don't remember. They had little pegs here. And as you can see, there's a leader plane. Where did it go? There we go. There's a leader plane. So here's all 3 of them that came in a pack of 3. And their little accessory that came with it was this hard plastic little bunker or hanger that they could park inside. It has a little gun on top and some detail. As you can see here, regular plane, and then the leader has black wings, black ailerons, and originally they came with little plastic missiles. A little plastic missile that would peg in down here. Those are long since gone. Let's see. Copyright K2TB89. Maybe that's Roman numerals for 1989. Anyway, these toys were one of my favorites because this thing looks like a souped up F-14. Not sure if the camera is getting the detail very well, but this thing really does look like it has sweepable wings. It has this line right here, kind of like the F-14 does, so its wings can sweep out. So to me, this was a futuristic F-14 with the additional tail ailerons or whatever on the front here. Yeah, these were cool. I played with these a lot. Another reason they're some of my favorite toys, I played Battletech with these. So the tanks would, for a long time, stood in as Battletech tanks. The missile launcher guys would stand in for LRM carriers. And of course the planes would stand in for whatever Aerotech fighters. So even once I kind of grew out of, playing with these as a, I would still play with them on a tabletop game. Speaking of which, to go with these, I have another set of toys that I had from when I was little. I have this bag of little tanks. These are about the size of micro machines. I don't know if they're actual micro machines or not, and I have no idea where I got these from originally. I had these for a really, really long time, and these would be played with my G.I. Joes. So my G.I. Joe figures would I'd run around with them and play with them as their figures, and then sometimes I'd have tank battles, which these would be broken out and they would be different tanks and stuff. So playing in a different scale, different tanks and stuff. I have no idea if these are real. This one kind of looks like a T-80. This one here, I think this one was my favorite. Sort of like an M1A1. Looks sort of like a Bradley fighting vehicle. I think they tried to do this so that another one that looks sort of like an M1A1. Actually, this one probably looks a little closer to an M1 to me, but I think what they did was they changed everything just enough so that, it wasn't anything in particular. Striker. Infantry fighting vehicle. Pickup truck with a big old gun on the back of it. Now, here we got something out of scale. Look at the size of this gun. But it's got handholds on it like a guy's supposed to be standing on it. With the door, whoever would be standing this tall would be huge. Somebody's arms this big around, their hands that big. And then this big missile launcher. Almost looks like they had a crane toy that they took the crane off and put this missile on. This second cab here that can turn and stuff. Maybe it's like supposed to be a Scud missile or something. But like the Kenner Megaforce stuff. These tanks got repurposed once I got older into Battletech. So I had infantry fighting vehicles and tanks, stuff I would use as stand-ins for Battletech stuff. All this I'm going to keep. I hope that I haven't lost the little helicopter that I had that was Megaforce and the little tank platform thing that would open up so the helicopter could take off. I'm hoping I find that in a box somewhere. But if not, it's gone. Maybe one of these days I'll go looking for Kenner Megaforce. I haven't seen them at yard sales or flea markets or anything in ages, so they're not toys that I just find out in the wild very much. If I did start to like add more of these to my collection, it would be expensive, so I don't know if I'll ever do that, but I'm definitely keeping these. And who knows, maybe they'll show up in a Battletech video one of these days now that I have access to them again. Next up, I have a few little things to show you. First up, I have Magneto. This is the original 90s Magneto. I bought this, oh, I don't even remember. Late 90s, I think. Was with the X-Men cartoon from back then that now there's more of. Haven't seen it yet. I'll have to check out X-Men 97 or whatever. I don't have Disney Plus. No real interested in having it after what they did to my Star Wars, but I will have to check it out. I've had a couple people tell me that it's pretty good. But Magneto was probably one of my favorite characters there. He was a villain that wasn't just a mustache twirling bad guy for being a bad guy's sake. He was strong, he was powerful, and he had a reason for doing what he did, which was very new to me back then. It was at a time that I was growing up and growing away from just, you know, Skeletor and Cobra Commander and just people that are evil for, you know, I want to take over the world for no particular reason, to bad guys being more complex. The way Magneto spoke in that cartoon was also really good. I think they got a Shakespearean actor to play him, and it really shows in his commanding voice and stuff. So I had the chance to pick up this action figure pretty cheap, and I did, and he's super dusty because for years and years he sat on my desk. You know, through college he sat up on my desk, the top of my desk. I had him at work with me at one point. He sat in my computer room for a while. I mean, I had this guy on display for years and years and years. Far more than I ever played with him as a toy. But, you know, he had some articulation. He could turn his head around. His arms would come up, but, you know, the cape blocks them. He's got a hinge here so he can bend his arm. Same thing with the other arm. More fuzz. He had a play feature that when you would move this would like spark, but it's long since stopped working. Bend his leg up so far and bend his knee so far. He had pegs, so if you had something that was in his size, he could peg onto it. There were vehicles in a whole line for the X-Men. This was the only one that I had, but it was a cool one to have. Now let's take a step back. I have some actual Transformers. We have Swindle here. This was one of the Transformers, one of the Decepticons that would form Bruticus. And I know because I have his card back. I had originally intended to get all of the figures so I could actually form Bruticus. But here we go. Got the cross cell there telling you how to transform him and turn him into Bruticus's leg. Got English at the top, and it looks like Spanish at the bottom in his stats. This was Generation 2, so this was sort of the remake of the originals. This was in the, 90s, 1993. And to transform him, let's see if I can remember how to do this without looking at the instructions. His legs would fold down. His arms would come out. And that would go back. And there we go. That was Swindle. And I have, I believe, his accessories. Yeah, here we go. This is the big machine gun that would go on his back when he was in Jeep mode. And of course, he could hold it in his hand. And on the side here, there's a little side gun that comes off for his pistol. So he's got two guns, or one gun with a little side gun on it. And he was really cool to play with. A lot of play features. This is where Transformers really did better than GoBots. GoBots, to my knowledge, didn't have accessories. In the show, they just kind of shot lasers from their hands. In this, they would have guns. So you had little accessories to go with them. So there we have Swindle. But I also have Brawler, I think his name is. Brawl. Yep, Brawl. He's another part of Bruticus. He's his other leg. As you can see, he's also a tank. I loved this one as a kid because it was a nice sized tank. This also got used with G.I. Joe and stuff, just in his tank form. One of the reasons for that is the turret pops up, which makes the tank look really different with this tall neck with a turret on it. So it kind of got used as a Cobra vehicle, a G.I. Joe vehicle, just from that one little pop-up feature. But again, to transform him, his head would pop up, you would slide him up, his legs would fold down, his arms would fold down, and his chest would fold down, and there's his head. And he still had pretty good range of movement. You could still move his turret around and stuff. And I do have his accessories. He had his pistol, which would go into his hand here. There we go. And he had one other accessory. He had this giant gun, this elevating twin barrel gun thing. This did not fit in his hand. This was for when he was in tank mode. So let's transform him back real quick. He was pretty easy to transform, which was nice for a kid. Back into tank mode we go. And then his gun could plug in there on his back, or it could plug in here right behind the turret, but it would restrict the turret from turning all the way around, but it would elevate up a little bit behind him or straight ahead, and his pistol would still fit into his armhole, so you'd have a big old tank with a lot of guns on it. But that would restrict the turret even more. So Usually just left the gun off. So you had a tank that had big old anti-aircraft guns or artillery guns or something on it, and this thing was cool. So of these guys, it's a split bag. I'm gonna hold on to Brawl. I just had too much fun with him as a kid. And Swindle here, yeah, I'm gonna let go of Swindle. I'm never gonna finish Bruticus. I have no real desire to. If I'm gonna go out and actually have a combiner, then of course I'm gonna get the Constructicons and have Devastator. So I'll be letting this guy go on eBay eventually. Hopefully it goes for a decent price and somebody will get it, and it'll be the one that he didn't get, and he'll be able to finish Bruticus. But continuing on the theme of Transformers, I have here this cardboard piece with a cross cell. And I have the man, the myth, the legend. I have Optimus Prime. Now, again, this is the Generation 2 version of Optimus Prime. You can see here that I cut off his file card, the cross cell, and of course I kept his little instructions. This was different than the original Optimus Prime, although it was close enough for a kid like me, and honestly, with the added features and stuff, it didn't really add that much to the thing from what it originally came with. But I have Optimus Prime and his little voice box. This originally would make sounds, but the batteries have long since died, and I'm not opening this thing up to see the batteries inside. They're probably a corroded mess. But it would have, you know, I think it would say transform and roll out, something else, and then little blah 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 laser noises on it. Has the Autobot logo on it. And it would hook right in here on the trailer. But it left very little room for Optimus Prime to pull this trailer around. I usually just took it off. Set it to the side somewhere, make it Teletran 1 or something. I thought it looked better without it. Now, Optimus Prime came with a bunch of accessories. He came with this missile launcher. I'm not sure, HCC788, if you happen to be watching, I'm sure you'll tell me this was originally one of the G.I. Joe missile launchers because it looks like one with the Gatling gun on it. I think it's one that they made slight alterations to make it work for Optimus here, but it worked the same way as the other 90s G.I. Joe spring-loaded missile launchers. So he came with missiles for it. They would peg in here. There we go, peg in. You could point them. Now, I do not have Dr. Mindbender, so we will just shoot at Optimus Prime's trailer here. There was a little button here, and you would just lift it up to fire. Now, Optimus Prime himself, let's take a look at him. As you can see, he's a tractor trailer. Transform him. His legs would fold down, his feet would fold out, his arms would kick over to the side, which should allow you to pull back here on his shoulders. They would fold forward. cab would come down and his little hands would be in here. His head would fold over, and there we go. We have Optimus Prime. I have his hands right here. So his hands would peg on. And you have the man himself. Oh man, Optimus Prime. I never get tired of hearing his voice. His voice actor could read the phone book and I would listen to it. Sort of like, oh, I'm drawing a blank, of course, but you know, Batman, the animated series Batman. He recently died. I feel sorry that I can't remember his name right now. But he was another one that was just, there's certain voices that are Optimus Prime and certain voices that are Batman, and well, never get tired of hearing them. So he had his classic gun, like from the show, peg into his hand. He could, of course, hold his missile launcher. Boom. Now, the voice box had a feature where you could also, plug in here, the missile launchers. So you could add missile launchers to Optimus Prime when he was in his tractor trailer mode, which, sure, I guess. But to me, that looks like crap, so we'll just ignore that. And, you know, if I was going to play this way, this thing would be like a turret or something, you know, defending the Ark. Inside the tractor trailer, of course, never exactly what it appears. You had these feet that would fold out. Help keep the thing kind of level. The ramp would fold down. Let's go ahead and put Optimus over to the side here. And the trailer pop open. Ooh. Well, it would pop open if it liked you. There we go, it would pop open, and you had a little place set in here. You had this, I don't know, thing. I don't know what you would call it, but this articulating pod that would come up, go in different directions. It would fold out. So it had a little arm on it that articulated around. It had a wide range of motion. Could go in a lot of different directions. This ball joint and hinges, and its hand could open up, so it could actually move around and pick stuff up. You had what I'm assuming is some kind of radar dish that would fold out, and it had a lot of articulation, and you could spin it. This little disc holder, this would actually open up. And I'm assuming they were either planning to or actually did have little figures that you could sit in there. Also on this molded in gun and command center station. Now this pod had holes in the trailer, so the pod could be sticking out and you could play with it as, you know, Optimus Prime was driving or whatever. And it had a lot of motion to it. It could twist, turn around and stuff. It could also fold out and go this way. Not as useful, but it could do it. And then as you can see here, there's this little ram here. It would go back and lock into position because Optimus Prime had a little buddy. Now, I do remember this guy. I think he was in the show maybe once or something. This little buggy that would carry people You would put him on his track here. There was a little lever back here, and you would press it, and it would shoot him off. Now, Optimus Prime came with other accessories. He came with a hose. This would peg in somewhere. On the end of the hose, there would be this little gas cap. Hook onto the hose here. This was generic rubbery hose that came with G.I. Joe figures and such. And that way you could fuel up the little buggy with it. Pretty sure this was Optimus Prime's. This was another thing that, if I remember correctly, you could hook to the hose. Yep, you could hook this to the hose too. It would also peg on to the back of the little scout vehicle, so it could have a gun. And Optimus Prime here could also hold it. So Optimus Prime could have a little pistol thing. Whatever it's meant to be. These little missiles were detachable, so you could pull them out and shoot them. They're not spring-loaded, but they are held on by this little latch, so you press and hold to release it. And that's Optimus Prime. Now, I actually had 2 of them. For Christmas, somebody got me this. You know, Santa brought it, and then somebody else actually gave it to me. So I actually had 2 Optimus Primes. Same interior and everything. Like Magneto, Optimus Prime sat on my desk for years and years and years, even after I outgrew him as a kid. I don't know where the other Optimus Prime is. I have a box of his accessories here. I'm hoping the other Optimus Prime shows up at some point. I'm keeping Optimus Prime. Eventually he's going to go back on my desk or on display or something. What can you say? He's Optimus Prime. If you have to have a Transformer, you start with Optimus Prime. It's just that simple. The other one, if he shows up, I'll sell him. You know, I'll hopefully somebody will get him and love their collection. I'm really hoping the other one shows up at some point. Okay guys, I just wanted to show you a few more things. These are some random little toys that I used to play with, some with my G.I. Joes, but don't really fit in anywhere else. We'll be getting into more G.I. Joe toys proper shortly. But first off, I have this F-15. It's a plastic F-15. It's probably came from, you know, a Dollar General or something back in the day. Got okay detail on it. It originally had 2 of these missiles that peg on here, and they kind of pull off. You can shoot the missiles. Underneath here you can see that there are some bombs and what looks to be maybe extra fuel tank. This is a Strike Eagle. Now the canopy doesn't open, but you'll know that it's hinged. This actually, press this in, the entire front cone opens up, and you can see in there you got your 2 pilots. So I would play with this some with my G.I. Joes. Now I have another interesting F-15 to show you. This one's a little bit smaller scale. Much smaller scale. Far, far too small for G.I. Joes, but you'll notice something odd about this F-15. It's a U.S. Navy F-15. You know, much less detail on it. Got some bombs under here. Yeah, U.S. Navy F-15. Okay, it's 2 decals. This actually came with a little play set. Little aircraft carrier cheap plastic play set that I had as a kid. I know where that is. It's in my dad's basement. I'll have to pull it out and do a video on it at some point. Just getting to it with all the boxes down there. But this actually has more detail on it than this larger F-15 does. But yeah, U.S. Navy F-15. Okay, sure, whatever. Now, I also had this. This got played with quite a bit with my G.I. Joes. Cargo plane here. And it had a lot of play features on it. It's scaled more for, I guess, like micro machines. I don't think it's an actual micro machine toy. But it had a lot of play features on it. Obviously, it had a ramp back here, which is long gone. You would open up. I would hold my G.I. Joes up and kind of drop them out of the back, you know, like they were parachuting in or something. You had two little doors here that would open up. You could put vehicles in if they were, you know, little micro machines. You had a big door here. You could store things in. There was a little side ramp here. And then the front nose cone would open up. And originally there was a little ramp right here that would fold down, but it's long gone too. So this would kind of get played with to kind of open for my G.I. Joes. You know, this would be flying, and I'd have a U.S. Navy F-15 flying with it to protect it, and then the G.I. Joes I'd have jump out the back. You know, you got to play with quite a bit of stuff, and when you didn't have all the official G.I. Joe toys, but you wanted to have a lot of adventures, you had to be creative with what you had. I'm going to keep all this stuff for now. I'm sure these generic toys don't have any real value to them, but I'm going to hold on to them for now. If I don't have room for them in the future, I'll give them to like my buddy's kid or something. See if he wants to play with them and enjoy them like I did once he gets a little older. Anyway, let me know below what you think. Tell me about your time with the Transformers and Optimus Prime. Did you have Kenner Megaforce? Did you repurpose any of that into Battletech figures for a while? Battletech pieces, minis? What do you think of a U.S. Navy F-15? Anyway, let me know below. And as always, I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come. Hello, this is Adam with Dream Made Productions. Thank you for watching my content. It really means a lot that you have given me the chance to entertain you. If you would like to support the channel, please visit my Patreon at patreon.com/DreamMadeProductions, linked below. Also below is a link for PayPal, or links if you would like to send crypto, if that's more your thing. Please know any amount that you give will be cherished and used to upgrade equipment and improve the channel. You can also help the channel by subscribing, turning on notifications, liking, commenting, and sharing my channel with anyone you think might be interested. Thank you again for watching, and I hope you enjoy the battle reps that are to come.